Welcome to the All of You podcast, where we believe healthy relationships are created by growing individually and pursuing a healthy relationship with yourself.
So let's take a deep breath. Settle in and grow together.
I have something cool to share.
You do?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, please share it.
As of late, the last couple months even, I have had more people reach out to me from like past life.
I feel like, given the nature of this podcast, you need to describe past lives. Not as,
People might think we're like on it. Like
sometimes we
dead
get a little
people?
woo-woo.
Like
Yeah.
we're not talking about dead people. No, like not past lives. Like
last time you were on Earth. Like,
yeah.
I think it's important to call this out.
You're probably right.
You're more meaning you're a man who's lived many lives in this lifetime.
In this lifetime, I've lived many lives, yes. And I've had, since doing the podcast, at first it was like a lot of people reached out because they were, I guess, curious or just congratulatory. Like, that's awesome that you guys are doing that. I love it. And then it got quiet for a while. And recently, I've had people coming back and like, just people I wouldn't expect, from elementary school or junior high or just randomly, like somebody I met, snowboarding or something. And like, it's just been really cool to see men reach out in a way of either celebrating the fact that mental health, like they're on board, they're doing the mental health journey, they're on board with this type of work, or reaching out to seek help. And that has been amazing. I mean, it's so hard as a man to seek help, I think, and most men just try to do it themselves, and I did for a long time. But it's beautiful when they finally can go, yeah, I'd like to get some assistance and I'd like support. And it's just been awesome, like really cool thing for me personally to see. And then I've felt, I don't know, it's just been this weird, eerie thing for me where for a long time I almost didn't want to run into people in my hometown a little bit because which version of me did they know, and I've run into so many people lately. It's just like a lot of things happening, one after another. I can't really make sense of it.
I don't think congratulate is the right word, but give you a little props. You used to like not hide, but like kind of hide if you saw someone from your past. Like you did not want to have a chat with them. And you have not been lately. We've run into people and you've been...
I love to see them.
Yeah.
I like to see them.
That's a really big shift I've noticed in you.
Yeah, I think before, I haven't really put a lot of thought into this, but before, when I was younger, I guess this is like going to be a tangent, but I'll try to go quickly. When I was really young, I was doing bad things. And so I didn't want to run into people. And then I became like a hardcore Christian. And then I didn't really want to run into people necessarily because I was so different, and I would feel compelled to like evangelize. Like there was like an inner voice, like I need to evangelize
go and make
my
disciples
faith
among the nations.
Yeah. And it was like, oh man, really? Do I have to evangelize to like one of my best friends that I used to party with or something? It was just kind of awkward. And then I deconstructed faith a little bit, and I went into a phase of I didn't want to run into the Christian people because I didn't want to have to explain why I wasn't at church. And so it was like that. Then I went through a divorce. And so it's like, you got to explain that. Or if we run into somebody, it's like, oh, this is my wife now. It's just kind of like this, like, not shameful feeling, but just rather not have to run into people and explain. And then, I don't know, after going through all the stuff in courses and classes and learning how to help my own self rise out of the shame, and it's just really, I don't feel shame when I'm mirrored back other versions of myself. You know, if I run into somebody that mirrors back a version of myself that I'm not so proud of, I guess I've already accepted that version of myself. I've already accepted all the versions of myself that has previously lived in this lifetime, and like gone into the mistakes that I've made. I've kind of accepted those mistakes and wholeheartedly taken accountability, which will lead us into a lot of what we're going to talk about. But yeah, and then honestly, what that's done is it's when I run into someone, like for instance, we ran into one of my old youth pastors the other day when we were at dinner. It was awesome to see him. I love the guy. He's amazing. And he was with his daughter, and we run into him, and previously, I guess I would have been thinking about, what does he think of me? Does he approve of, has he listened to the podcast? Does he, like my old self might have been thinking about, I don't know, some self-conscious belief, right? And instead, I was actually just purely thinking about, how is he? What is he up to? Is he working at a different church now? How's his family? Like, is he still in the same home? Is he still surfing? Like that type of stuff. And I think that was really just cool to not feel self-conscious and to feel empowered and curious about someone else's experience. Yeah, it's honestly so freeing and light, and there's not a lot better than when you can walk around free no matter who you run into.
Yeah, I really saw that change in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool thing.
Yeah, but it's been happening a lot now. It's like all
like running
of a sudden,
into people.
Yeah, the last few months, it just seems like I've had, I don't know, I've probably had 30 conversations, whether online or with people that I would have never expected to even be speaking with from past lives, and it's just been really cool.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've experienced that as well in speaking with people I never expected that I would from my past, but I'm one of those weirdos that I genuinely enjoy running into people from the past. Maybe it's because I haven't really felt like I've had as much to hide, but for the most part, I get really excited, and most people are probably more wanting to hide from seeing me than I'm trying to hide from seeing them. I want to chat everyone up always, but I love hearing from people from the past. I think it's kind of the beautiful part of the work that we're doing when we get to hear from people that we've known from different walks of life, and they kind of circle back through, and I think it's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed that. I'm enjoying it.
I enjoy that you're enjoying it. It's really nice to see you not hiding.
Yeah, I don't know if I was hiding as much as I was like
avoiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I meant. Like you weren't like physically like hiding.
Yeah.
But if you saw someone, you would be down to like walk in a route so that you didn't have to have a conversation at one point. Yeah. And now you don't.
Well, and I also would attribute that to being really busy. Like in the past, I always felt like so busy that if we were on a date night, it was like, this is our one date night. I don't want to share my time with you. Like I always had an agenda or something going on, like not very present. And I'm talking years ago. Like I would say the last few years I haven't been like that. But, you know, in years past or just previous lives, I've always been really goal oriented. Like if I'm going somewhere, I'm almost running.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
And it's just been nice to slow down and smell the roses.
Eckhart Tolle it.
Yeah.
Just be in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope people got that joke, but if not, that's okay.
Well, it brings us really smoothly into the transition of the topic,
which is the blame game.
Did you just full on like game host us?
Yeah.
We're going to play a game today.
It's called the blame game. Is it your fault? Is it your partner's fault? Is it the dog's fault? It's definitely not your fault because this is the blame game.
That would
Dun,
actually be
dun,
kind of
dun,
fun.
dun, dun, dun.
Should we I wish we almost prepped for an actual game.
I can make up all of this
Let's
on
do
the spot.
it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What is the blame? What are the rules to the blame game?
Hey friends, if you're struggling in your relationships, we want you to know we've been there and real change is possible.
So whether you're moving on from a breakup, working to strengthen your relationship, or just ready to show up differently in your life, we're here to help you out. Click the link in our bio and book a free 30-minute consultation with us, and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together.
And if you're enjoying this episode, we would love it if you would like, subscribe, or share this podcast because better relationships start with better conversations. Now back to the show. I tell you a situation. You tell me who's to blame.
Okay, let's go.
All right, situation number 1. You didn't get that promotion at work. Your coworker did. Is that your fault? Or is that your boss's fault? Or is that your coworker's fault?
Oh, that's tough. I know the answer because I know where we're going with this episode, but
You cheating?
yeah, it's a tough one though. It's really tough not to blame other people, but I'm going to go with it's your fault.
Dun, dun, dun. We have a winner, folks. It is indeed your fault. And the reason it's your fault is, well, actually, I'm making this situation up. So maybe there's like some stuff I don't know about, but in my blame game, it's a little bit your fault because you didn't tell your manager that you wanted the promotion. You didn't advocate for yourself, and maybe you weren't working quite as hard as your coworker.
But man, does it feel so good to blame other people.
Oh, it feels so good.
Like, can we talk about that? Sorry, I would play more of the blame game, but
It's okay. We can get into the episode.
yeah. Why does it feel so good to blame other people?
It's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It feels good to blame other people because it protects our ego and our identity by projecting things onto them. And it helps keep us safe. I'm not the bad guy. It's not my fault. It helps us to not take responsibility for things we don't want to. And it feels good in the current moment to not have to feel like you're the bad guy or you're the reason you didn't get a promotion. Like that sucks. That the level of awareness it takes to go, yeah, I didn't get the promotion because it was me is a humbling, very self-aware statement. And it's painful. I think that's actually the point I'd probably want to make about why we blame is reality is painful. And that's really what it comes down to with most defense mechanisms. And I can always speak to defense mechanisms really well because I'm the defensive one in our dynamic, as you all heard in our episode on defensiveness. So I know this subject very well firsthand. And reality, so all of that to say, we blame others because the reality that we're at fault is so painful. Our ego does not want to hold that pain. I would actually say it's kind of like this. It's like your pain, it's like a hot potato. You don't want to hold it. You want to throw it to, I want to throw it to you. I want to throw it to, I don't know, the girls, my parents, my boss, whoever I can throw this hot potato of my pain onto so that I don't have to have the hot potato of pain. I'm going to do it. But the real trick here is if you can sit with the hot potato of pain long enough to realize that you are at fault, that's actually when you get the baked potato of your dreams.
Yeah.
And that sounds really weird. Let me explain why it's the baked potato of your dreams. And I am sorry, this episode's getting real weird in Analogyville. But it is the baked potato of your dreams because when you can actually take self-responsibility and accountability is probably the right word for your actions, you hold the key to your growth. When we blame others for really anything, whether it's our own situation, for something that happened, we lose the chance and the opportunity to actually go inward and go, okay, how did I contribute to this so that I can make sure it doesn't happen next time, or I break my own pattern, or so that I can grow.
Okay, so hold on. Let's slow down.
That was a lot.
Bit.
Yeah, sorry. I got on a little rampage there.
So first and foremost, though, like there are I want to set the table. There are situations.
You want to set the potato?
not the potato.
I was gonna say, you want to set the table so we can eat the potato?
Sure.
Perfect.
There are situations where someone is a complete victim.
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about in this episode. This episode is more so about nuanced situations, when a breakup happens, a divorce, a situation in a relationship where we're trying to blame the other person entirely for whatever happened, for our pain, for our feelings. And if somebody just outright, con artist someone, or they cheat on them, they lie to them, they have, a second family in a state nearby, like those
or
are
any types of abuse.
Yeah. These are victim situations where you are a victim. I still believe that staying in victim mentality isn't the right move for healing.
Well, there's a difference between being a victim and having a victim mentality long term.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yes, you are a victim if those things happen. And we're not really talking in this particular episode about heavier situations like that. This episode is for the nuance. I just want to get that right out of the gate, because there are scenarios where people need to go to jail and things are really serious. But in most breakups, I would say 80% of breakups or divorces or family dynamics where estranged families, let's say, it's like somebody's blaming the other person completely for the situation, and it just doesn't serve you. Like in the scenario that you had, where it's a workplace scenario and you don't get a promotion, you can blame your boss, you can blame your coworker, but if you do it, we're talking about that doesn't serve you. That defensive mechanism that you have, that your ego wants to do. Of course, it's easy. It feels good. It's such the easier route to blame. And not talking about those crazy situations where, maybe there was lying or cheating or stealing or whatever, but just happenstance, you didn't get the promotion, and it's a nuanced situation. You gotta accept your part in it. Maybe your part in it is staying in that work environment. Maybe your part in it is knowing that your boss plays favorites and promotes their friends always. Don't stay in that work environment, And if you do and you choose to stay in that work environment, you are now contributing to that event happening in the future. And so that's how it keeps you stuck. So I just want to get that kind of caveat out there.
I appreciate you setting the table with that. I think that's super important. And I think actually it's good to say that, not that we're giving advice on here, but for lack of a better term, any advice that we give on here needs to be taken with the discretion that it doesn't always fit every single situation. Life has a lot of nuance, as does the words that we say. So,
but when it comes to relationships and general relationships where there is subtle abuse that happens, it's hard that unless you're like a specialist, it's hard to pick up on. There's subtle manipulation happening. There's emotional dumping. There is blame happening for the mental load in the household. There's blame happening for the lack of physical connection or emotional connection happening in the relationship. That's what we want to talk about and sort through. So, talk about some scenarios.
Sure.
So I work with a lot of divorced guys, and when I ended up in a divorce, there was a matter of time where it was very hard not to place blame. And I did, in my mind, place blame. And I didn't take full accountability at first. And I work with a lot of guys and who are going through this, and they are, very right out the gate. They're typically pretty like, it's her fault. She's the monster, blah, blah. So I have a term that I use in my men's groups where I say, if she's a monster, how did you contribute to creating that monster? And I'll say, I actually say it more blatant than that, but I say, you created the monster, because I'm trying to be a little crass with them, where it's like, you got to take accountability for your part in the dynamic. So if she is always emotionally dumping on you, like, why did you stay for 10 years? Why did you marry someone like that? What's the part you played in, if it takes two to tango, what's the part that you played to tango with someone that long? That it's like, maybe it was just naivety. All you were was naive. It's kind of my situation. I was 20 years old when I got married. And like, so it's not like there's a blame. It's more of just I wish I would have known things that I didn't know, right? But you still have to accept your part in it. So for as far as my story goes, it's like, until I accepted all the ways that I think I didn't show up well, I really wasn't able to change them. And you deserve for me to change them. If I can continue to repeat poor relationship patterns and dynamics, it's just going to affect any relationship I'm in. And I think a lot of times when we blame, like, if I continued in blame mode, it would be an easy way for me to hide the ways I don't show up well and make excuses for myself. And as most people would say, that's giving away your power. When you stay in blame mode, you end up giving away your power.
Yeah. And I think the way you give up your power is you lose the opportunity for growth. I think it's similar to what I said at the top of the episode, how blame is a defense mechanism. It's really our ego trying to keep us safe. It's trying to protect us by not letting us believe that we're capable of doing whatever it was that we did, or taking the responsibility that is painful for us to realize. So your ego is trying to keep you safe. It's designed to do that. But safety is not always the best thing for us. Embracing the discomfort of owning and being accountable for our mistakes is what allows us to grow, to change, to evolve, to become the versions of ourselves we're actually proud of and we want to be. So when we stay safe, we stay stuck. And that's what blame does. It keeps us in cycles of stuckness where we're just continuously saying it's this person's fault, this person's fault, this person's fault. And the longer we do that, we don't change anything we're doing. We miss the opportunity to grow. And that's actually such a bummer. Like, that truly sucks. That, and I think is long-term, it's actually more painful than the short-term pain of accepting, hey, my bad. I totally made a mistake on this one, and I'm sorry, which is the opposite of blame, accountability.
Yeah, and I just think of, like, let's say someone is, in a relationship that's on the rocks and they're really hurt, and maybe there was things that the other person did. I want to slow it down and talk about what is happening internally. How do you notice when you're starting to blame someone? It oftentimes is a subconscious pattern that we just do. Like, I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm angry, and so therefore it is someone else's fault. I would say most people don't necessarily recognize when they're triggered.
Yeah.
And they don't understand how that relates to past pain. they don't take accountability for their emotions. A lot of us are walking around in the world, a lot of humans are walking around in the world that if somebody cuts them off on the road, they get really triggered, they believe that the other person's like them cutting them off is fully responsible for everything they feel inside. And that's just not the case. Like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but our emotions are affected by others, but we have these big emotional reactions and we blame others for them. And so it's an immediate response. It's like so immediate.
Yeah, I think I really, really love that point you just brought up. And so I think a trick, for lack of a better word, to how I started noticing it, and this is just one way you can notice it, is I learned that no one makes me feel any sort of way. I choose how I feel. So whenever we're in a conflict or something happens and I go, you're making me mad or you're making me frustrated, that's blame, because no one makes you feel a certain way. I'm an adult and I choose how I feel.
Kind of.
I believe that.
Yeah,
you don't believe that?
I think, I mean, I do in theory, but I think, and I like to live by that. I like to live with full accountability of my emotions. But if you cheated on me tomorrow, I'm going to feel like crap. And I think in relationship with others, we actually extend trust and we do give people a little bit of keys to us a little bit, you know? What we want to do is take that power back though. Like, so would it affect me if you cheated on me tomorrow? Yes, I would be in a lot of pain. Should I personalize that pain? No. It says everything about you and nothing about me, right?
I'm actually more curious about the thought of, because I actually do believe that no one can make me feel how I feel. I choose how I feel. Like, I don't blame anyone for any of my feelings.
I love that. And I love that. But I think that's the goal to get to. Like, I think to get to that point where you have full autonomy of your own emotions and you don't blame anyone for how you feel is like full enlightenment almost, you know? And so I want to say that that's the journey. That is the journey of growth and healing, is trying to get to the point where we don't blame others for how we feel. So I don't get a promotion. I don't blame the others around me. I look at the situation and the reality and try to make adjustments based on how other people, and I don't take it personally. But if somebody has an error, if somebody cuts you off, if somebody does XYZ, like, for you to have a partner that cheats on you and you not take it personally, congratulations, you've reached enlightenment basically, right? Like, that would be such a heroic place to be. I just don't think most people are there. I think we can say that that's like the goal.
Well, I think the difference is I can say, like, I am mad, but I don't say you make me mad.
So, okay, explain that a little bit.
You can be mad, but not say you made me mad.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think that's the ownership of it, of whether I want to sit in the madness or not is my choice.
So, okay, so a partner cheats on you and you can choose to be angry because anger is justified in that situation.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
makes sense.
I can be angry,
but
I'm not saying you made me angry.
Yes.
I'm going, I am angry because I own how I feel. You don't have the power to actually dictate how I'm going to feel.
Totally.
I take responsibility for how I feel. So
100% agree. 100%
is
agree.
kind of where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually, it's an empowering mindset in my mind, because I don't want to allow someone to get to have the power over how I feel.
Yeah.
If you cheated on me, I would choose to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my choice. I would choose to grieve. I'd probably choose to be mad for a bit, but it wouldn't be you making me. I would be choosing it.
I 100% agree. And those emotions would be healthy, and so you can choose them based on your own health. And I think that a lot of people go to blame because it makes it easier to justify why they feel the way they feel. So instead of saying, I'm choosing to be angry, it's like, I'm going to blame them for my anger. I'm going to blame them for me feeling this way. And that's how I see so many people, when relationships end, they stay stuck because they don't look back and take accountability for their part in it. And then they just hide under the blame.
Right. And I think that's the same as, even if a relationship isn't ending, a relationship that's been long term and has a ton of resentment, it's typically the same thing. If you look under the covers,
Yeah.
It's a bunch of blame, no accountability on either or both sides, that builds up all of this resentment.
And that's why it's so funny to me. Like, it doesn't really when people come to me and they're like, I really am trying to avoid divorce, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's fine. I think not getting a divorce is great. Not impacting your kids in that way is great. Like, let's try to save the relationship if you can. But whether you get a divorce or not isn't necessarily the issue at hand. It's like, either way, you have to sort through your resentment. The path is the same. Whether the relationship ends or doesn't end isn't really, that's a byproduct of just if people do their work or not. The goal is to get back to a place of yourself of not blaming, of full accountability, of feeling empowered. And when you blame somebody else for all your emotions, you have no confidence. You're not empowered at all. You have no self-confidence in your ability to manage your own emotions.
Right. Because that is, when you are blaming someone else for how you feel, you then are taking a powerless posture and going, I can't do anything about it because they control how I feel.
Yeah.
And then that just doesn't get you anywhere. If someone is blaming you and you know that it's really not on you, what do you do?
I want to first acknowledge that it's really difficult, because especially in a relationship where, in an intimate relationship where you love your partner, and like, if you're blaming me and I know I'm not to blame, then I have to essentially trust my own mind over yours. And that can be really hard, because you're used to leaning on each other for support. You don't want to believe your partner and all of a sudden is crazy. And but I believe that for men, a lot of times, that, like, we have to do this, because if you tend to get more emotional and all of a sudden get caught in an emotional storm, I have to back off from that storm. And if that storm comes pointed at me, I have to know, I have to stay in reality. And you have to excuse yourself from the conversation. If you're being pointed blame for something that you didn't do, or somebody's trying to make you feel really bad for their emotions, like, you cut them off and then all of a sudden they're coming at you level 10, you have to recognize that and remove yourself. And it's really hard to do. This is it. Like, this takes the cake of whether a fight breaks out in the middle of Disneyland or not between a couple. All of a sudden, somebody didn't do something small and somebody got triggered, and do you bite or not? You're going to get triggered. There's no way to expect your partner to never get triggered. But if you get triggered and then I bite and I fall in the trap, we're now both in a spiral, and then I could get triggered, and now we're in a more toxic one. And so the best thing to do is right out the gate, is to recognize they're trying to blame me for something I didn't do, and I need to remove. I mean, this happened to me a couple days ago, and I went for a run. You mentioned something you were upset with me for, and I quickly realized, you think I did something that I didn't do, and I had no intention of doing, and you're probably not going to listen right now while you're a little bit more in the heat of the moment. So I'm gonna go for my morning run, and I'll see you in an hour or two.
I was good when you got back.
You were?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the move.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's not always blaming for what someone has done. It's oftentimes people blame others for how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily always fair or true. But when someone's ego is saying it's all you, it's not me, they're not listening to you from a rational place. So arguing with someone's ego that is designed to keep them safe, it doesn't really work.
Mm-mm.
Because you're trying to shatter their reality. They believe you are making them feel a certain way, or that you did something wrong, and they do not feel safe enough to actually take accountability for their side of the fence. And their body is designed to have defense mechanisms pop up if you are trying to confront their reality. So the more you try to burst their bubble of their perception that isn't correct, oftentimes they're going to fight you more. And that's when you can see a lot of fights escalating.
Yeah, we are at the crux of the relationship experience right now, like the difficulty in it. And I think that this is where everyone lives. No one is exempt from this. I don't care how much work you've done.
We're not exempt from this.
Yeah.
The fight he mentioned was 2 days ago.
Yeah. And
it wasn't really a fight, but disagreement.
Yeah. And a lot of men, I think, specifically men that I work with and I talk to, it's like, we want to understand how to have this not happen. Like, help my wife. What can I learn to help my wife stay rational? And it's like, I'm sorry, man, you're not going to ever win this battle. Your wife is human. You are human. When one of you gets triggered, you're going to become unrational. And it's really hard to all of a sudden accept that your partner is flawed in that way. But once you do accept that, then you can know how to handle the situation. So if you're at Disneyland and your partner gets triggered, I'm sorry, it's going to ruin the next hour. They stepped in the mud. Like, it's like, just put it in your mind that they got a stomach ache and they're sick for the next hour. They're sick mentally. Somebody said something in front of them in line. You said something that you shouldn't have said. They're triggered. I know today was supposed to be some big special day. It's your anniversary or your kid's, birthday. And these are the heightened days that we're like, high expectations. Don't get triggered on this day. And then somebody gets triggered, and all of a sudden you're getting blamed for their emotions. And when it happens, you have to learn to take a step back and be like, I'm going to remove myself. We lost the next hour. Maybe you only lost 10 minutes. But if you don't take a break for 10 minutes right now, you might lose the whole day. And if you don't take a break at some point during the day and cool off or sort it out in a emotionally mature way, you might lose the next week. And if you don't take a break and sort it out emotionally mature way in the next week, you might lose the next month and then you might lose it. Like it just keeps piling on. And this is how relationships get attacked inside out, is that they don't cool off and come back and connect in an emotionally mature way. And it's usually because somebody won't stop the other person. There's a person who likes to blame for their feelings, and then there's another partner who can't be blamed. They're like the codependent one. They can't have it be their fault, or they can't accept accountability for their part in it.
Well, most of the times it's both people
Kind of doing both.
doing a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And that's where the fight just goes round and round and round and round.
Yeah. But 90% of the time, it takes two to tango, and you're playing a part in that tango, whether you like it or not. And if you're only trying to look at what the other person's doing in the pattern and trying to point out their flaws, you might be the one that's causing the most of it. I hate to say it. Like, even if they're totally disruptive, if they're doing a lot wrong, if you're the one that's not willing to look at your own part in the pattern, you're the one that is keep perpetuating the pattern.
Absolutely. Because the dynamic will never change if no one's ever taking accountability.
Yeah.
Or if one person's always taking accountability and the other one isn't ever, then resentment's going to start bubbling up, and you're almost like growing in different ways, or one is growing and the other isn't.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, when people get married, a lot of times they just turn on each other. They start believing that it's one versus the other, especially with kids, because it's like somebody's gonna watch the kids, and then it becomes the teeter-totter. Like, you go, I go. If I have to stay with the kids, then you can go have fun. And they start to like idolize their time without the kids, and then that becomes a pressure cooker. But it just becomes this like me versus you mentality instead of us versus the problem. Like, we're both on the side of, we want to have a healthy family with two healthy adults in a relationship together that are both thriving and getting our physical, mental, emotional needs met, financial needs met. Like, let's try to thrive a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that's the goal.
But when your needs aren't met, start to blame.
Yeah, you start getting desperate a little bit. I don't know if desperate's the right word, but when your needs aren't met, it just comes out sideways, and you're grasping onto things, and blame gets involved, and life becomes a lot more challenging.
When your wants and needs aren't met, you tend to blame. When you're having big emotions, we tend to blame. And if you're blaming people in your life and you haven't forgiven them, it's going to keep you stuck in victim mentality for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think victim mentality is just the biggest trap to keeping you stuck. So when you notice that you're in pain and you're starting to point it outward at others, that's the indicator of like, yes, some of that might be because of what they've done, but go inward and figure out why it is so painful for you. Your pain will always teach you things. I think there's a reason why people say pain is your greatest teacher. Anytime you're in pain, there is an invitation to go inward and figure out, am I in pain because this is hitting on a past wound? Am I in pain because my ego is hurt? Why am I in pain? And that will give you an invitation on what needs to be healed. And so if you find yourself blaming, there's also a hidden opportunity to heal.
And a suggestion, I know we've said it before, but the let them theory by Mel Robbins, just letting them blame you. You know, if you're the one being blamed, it's not really like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Let them blame you.
Yeah, you can't control anyone else. And so letting them just blame you. I think a lot of times we get stuck and perpetuate the problem by trying to control a narrative so that we're not the one to blame. If somebody's blaming you entirely for something, I mean, there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the learning lesson on that side of the fence is when someone is blaming you for something and it's really not on you. I find my ego wants to clear my name and wants to be like, whoa, 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 you've got me all twisted. That is not on me. Because my ego does not like that. But part of killing my own ego is, in a good way, is being able to go, yeah, they fully blame me for that. I'm not going to be able to change their mind. So I just accept that I am the villain in their story and there's just no changing it. And I can actually have compassion on them because they are stuck in a victim mindset in which they cannot grow in a victim mindset. And that's a bummer for them. I'm over here in Villainville and I'm growing and I'm moving on and I'm unbothered by them. That's really the power move. That's taking your power back. Let them tell you you're the narcissist, you're the villain, you're the bad guy. Just let them, because their ego is clenching so tightly to the narrative that you are wrong because the reality that they made a mistake is too painful for them. And so it doesn't really matter what you say to try to clear your name. If someone wants to believe you're the bad guy, you are not. It doesn't matter what evidence you give. They're going to believe you're the bad guy. You have to just let them to keep your own sanity.
It's the only move. And keeping your sanity is the only move. Like, if you don't have your sanity, what do you have? You know, and if you're running around trying to clear your name, it's just gonna make you. It makes you look defensive anyway. Just if you know the truth, just embody the truth. If you made the mistakes, own your mistakes and move on. There's not a lot more to it. We overcomplicate it because we're trying to control narratives, and we're trying to fight reality. And the reality is that they blame you. And I define mental health as trying to fight reality. You're trying to go to war with reality and bend it now. And so you're going crazy because you're not staying in the truth. The truth will set you free. Stay in reality. Own your stuff. They blame you for more than your fair share. Yeah, they do. Accept it. You know, accepting reality is literally accepting reality equals peace. And it's hard, but when something happens you don't like, accept it, move through it. It's the only option to keeping your peace. Blame game.
And that concludes this round of the blame game.
All right, love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.